Welcome to today's webinar with BCI Vast Computers Incorporated. We're here today with John DeVito from Lenovo talking about the SA120 storage offerings. We're excited to bring this presentation to you as this is a new opportunity with Vast Computers and Lenovo. Without further ado, John, take it away.
Okay, thank you, and thank you everyone for joining. So my name's John DeVito. I'm the storage brand manager here at Lenovo, and today we're going to talk about the ThinkServer SA120, our direct attached storage device. And as we go through this presentation, feel free to ask questions, or I guess you can do it on the chat and just interrupt, and we can kind of go from there. So I first wanted to start out with our storage portfolio. This is what we have today. So the kind of left half of the screen, or left portion of the screen, this is all our network attached storage products, our IX and PX products. This is the Lenovo EMC NAS portfolio. What we're going to focus on today really is on the right side, the ThinkServer SA120, our direct attached storage product. So what is the SA120? It's really storage expansion for servers, right? It is a direct attached storage device, and really, you think about direct attached storage, and it's really about selling it as a solution, as an expansion to a server, right? Maybe somebody has a one-use server that doesn't have a lot of drive space or a lot of capacity, and they need to expand. They've got growing needs, and they want to expand that server capacity, so you can easily add on an SA120 to that device. Or it could be a part of an initial solution that someone's putting together, maybe an exchange type of solution where they want to have a server to handle all the compute, but you can use the SA120 as the storage for that solution. So a lot of different types of use cases you have available with the SA120 and our direct attached storage device. What's unique about ours is, I kind of show it here on the left-hand side with the two red circles there, is we have SSD capability, and you can put SSDs in the rear of the device. So why is that important, or what can you do with that? It basically gets you into different types of usage scenarios where you can use that SSD as cache or as tiering, and you can use it to accelerate performance. And what's nice about it is, if you want to add SSDs, you can add it down the road or start out with SSDs. You're not taking up any of the front slots, right? So you still have your 12 drive bays up front for your high capacity storage, and then if you want to add in SSDs down the road or at the beginning, you can put SSDs in the rear of the device. So it's a nice feature, and it's unique to the SA120. Real quick, it's a 2U device, 12 drive bays in the front. We support up to 4 terabyte SAS drives, so you can get 48 terabytes. We do have a 6 terabyte drive on the roadmap, so we should be getting that qualified here, I want to say, within the next 3 months. So you're going to be able to get a ton of storage on this device out of a 2U device. It easily connects to both ThinkServers and third-party servers, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But it's we offer 2 RAID cards, LSI RAID cards, that would sit in the server, and then a SAS cable to one of the 2 controllers that are on the back of the SA120. And you can kind of see that in that lower left-hand graphic. So let's talk a little bit about the use cases. I kind of pointed out up top. It's typically sold with a server as server expansion, or if you already have a server, it can be used to expand the capacity of an existing server. And you think about the Lenovo portfolio, and really specifically things like the RS140, which only supports 2 3.5-inch drives, right? So if someone's putting a solution together based on an RS140, the SA120 is a nice add-on to get that extra storage. Maybe they need 10 terabytes worth of storage with that RS140, right? Maybe it's a backup server, and you let the RS140 or an RD540, let the server do the compute, and you can use the SA120 as the storage for that system. And you're not dealing with any kind of networking scenario, right? It's not network attached storage, so you don't have to worry about any of the networking issues. So I kind of break out the use cases into 2 general use cases: storage expansion, as I talked about. I just need more storage, right? If you think about Exchange environments, we all want to have more capacity in our inbox or our mailboxes. So if you want to expand Exchange mailboxes, you're going to need more capacity. So a quick and easy solution to use is a direct attach or something like an SA120 that you could just hang on to the back of that Exchange server and increase the capacity. Could be a backup repository. Could be any kind of scenario where you're storing a lot of data. If you think about things like whether it's video surveillance or maybe even video editing, right? You might be businesses working with a lot of video that take up a lot of space. You're not going to store necessarily all that stuff sitting on the server, but you want to have it readily available so you can add that SA120 to give you that extra storage. The other piece is when you get into the SSDs, this is really where data acceleration comes into play. So if you have databases or things like Exchange where you want to get more performance, right? So maybe an application might be running slow, or you think it's running slow. How can I increase the IOPS or get more database transactions per second? Looking at SSDs is typically an option for that. And later in the presentation, I'll give you some metrics on some testing that we've done to show you the performance gains that you can actually get out of using SSDs. High-performance computing applications or research-type environments. We've got a couple of SA120s sitting at the University of Hawaii in their research facility. So they're doing a lot of analysis, and they wanted that high IOP capability, so they put some SSDs in there to get that, and using the front side of the SA120 for the raw storage. So it gives you a lot of different use cases beyond just the, hey, I need a lot of storage. So it's a nice capability to have. Even if somebody doesn't necessarily need it initially, you can add it down the road. And we've put together a nice white paper. It's an easy read for people. It is available, so feel free to reach out to Kathy Brown. She can provide that white paper to you, and there's other documents that I'll reference in here. So Kathy Brown is definitely the best source for all of that information. Okay, so from an expansion scenario, the next couple slides kind of walk you through what it would look like as to how you would use the SA120 to expand on a server. So on the far left, it's what I call basic expansion, right? So you've got your server. You're going to put one of the LSI RAID cards, and I'll get into that in a couple minutes here, into the server, SAS cable to one of the I/O controllers in the back of the SA120. So that's that kind of blue rectangular shaped box there. That's the I/O controller. You can, supports up to 48 terabytes today. So using either 1, 2, 3, or 4 terabyte SAS drives, you can also add the SSDs in the back. So a lot of capability. You could start with 1 or 2 drives and grow as you need it, or you could load it up out of the gate with 12 drives. It's really up to the individual requirement for your customer or for the customer. The next one in the middle is kind of more expansion, so you can daisy chain the SA120. So in this case, I'm showing you can add up to 4 SA120s in a daisy chain. You could do 2, you could do 3, but the max here is 4 per SAS port. So each of the RAID cards that we offer have 2 external SAS ports. So from a single SAS port, you can daisy chain out to 4. And then on the right-hand side shows you, okay, now I'm using both SAS ports that are available on the RAID controller, and I'm expanding out to a full 8. So in this scenario, with each one of these scenarios, you think about 4 terabyte drives, daisy chaining out to 4 SA120s, you can get to 192 terabytes of storage. So a lot of storage available to you when using the SA120. So it gives a lot of expansion capability for people. Okay, the next one here is what I call the failover or dual path scenario. This is the one I mostly recommend because in general I think people want to make sure that their data is readily available, and what the failover or dual path config does is it gives you a bit of built-in redundancy. So what this is showing here is you're using both of the external SAS connectors from the server, from that RAID card, and going to different I/O controllers in a single SA120. So in the case of, and then I've got it showing here daisy chaining out to 4. So what that dual controller and dual path really is doing for you is, let's say perhaps one of those controllers goes down or somebody inadvertently pulls out one of the SAS cables. The server still has access to the data because it's going through the other path. That other path is still active. So it gives you nice built-in redundancy. So typically, I always, when people ask me, which one would you go with, I always start with the dual controller model. It's not much more expensive than the single controller model, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So that's kind of, my default, if you will, if you're looking at an SA120 solution. And then on the right-hand side, this is showing using some of the SSDs and the cascade feature, which I'll get into in a little bit. But basically here, I've got one of the SA120s with 4 SSDs. You don't have to have 4 SSDs in each of these either. You could, you could have 1 or 2 or 3 SSDs as well, and you could put SSDs in all of them if you wanted to. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you can configure the SA120 for a given requirement. So here are the 2 server adapter cards. So these are the LSI 9280 and 9286 cards that we offer. They each have kind of different functionality. So the LSI 9280 has 512 meg of cache. If you're familiar with our ThinkServer server lineup, so this controller is similar to the RAID 700 card that we have today. What's different about this controller is this has the external SAS connectors. So you can't really see it on the picture, but there's 2 SAS ports on each of these, external SAS ports on each of them. The bottom one is the ThinkServer LSI 9286. So this one here gives you a gig of cache. It also has more options in terms of the SuperCap or cache vault option, as well as Cascade, which is the functionality or the option that you'd want to get to if you're going to use SSDs to increase the amount of cache. So, because basically what Cascade can do for you is, you take that 1 gig of cache that you have on the card itself. If you buy the Cascade option, you can get up to 512 gig of cache using SSDs. So it gives you a lot of cache capability. So what can you connect to? So the SA120 can connect using either of those 2 RAID controllers to any of the current generation servers, even some of our previous generation servers, and you'll also be able to connect to some of the next-gen servers. In fact, we just announced 3 of them yesterday. So you'll be able to use the SA120 as expansion for any of the ThinkServer products that we have today or that we will have in the future. You can also connect to non-Think servers, right? So you might have customers, or maybe a customer has, Dell or HP servers. We do support connecting to those servers, those non-Lenovo servers, using the ThinkServer LSI 9280 or 9286 cards. So if somebody buys that card along with the SA120, we will provide support for the card and the SA120. So that's new that we just announced over the last month or so, so I wanted to make sure I communicated that out to people, because I think it opens it up for a lot more opportunity, because the capability of the SA120 with the SSDs is quite unique, so people may not necessarily want to replace the server that they have, but they want that capability that the SA120 provides.